Hello, everybody. Welcome to Small Business Energy Management 101, hosted by the Citizens Utility Board. This section will be recorded. Next slide. We would like to thank our promotional partners for helping us spread the word about today's program. So thank you to Be Local Wisconsin, the Sustainable Business Council, and the U.S. Green Building Council. CUB is excited to share this continuing program for educational program for small business. Again, welcome. My name is Tom Content. I'm Executive Director at CUB, the Citizens Utility Board. We'll start with some housekeeping today. This event is recorded now, but will be shared with all attendees and posted on CUB's blog, on our website, and on our YouTube channel. And if you have questions, please post them in the chat, and specifically to hosts and panelists if you can. Bear in mind that your questions will be viewable by all if you put them in the chat. So if you have a specific question for an individual speaker, feel free to direct it to them. If you'd like to use the closed captioning feature, there's a button on the bottom of your screen for CC Live transcript, and be sure to turn that on. We've placed everybody on mute, but if you have questions or comments, please, again, use the chat. So a little bit about CUB first. Next slide. CUB is the nonprofit 501c3 nonpartisan independent organization that's managed by a staff of we're a staff of 6 with oversight from a volunteer board of directors from across the state. We are the independent voice of Wisconsin residential and small business ratepayers, and we advocate for fair and reasonable rates for our monopoly utilities. And most of our work's at the Public Service Commission, but we also get involved in the courts and at the legislature. The primary focus of our work is education and outreach. Is not education and outreach. This is what we're doing today. Our primary focus of our work is our regulatory effort, because that takes up so much time to deal with the monopoly utilities and all the things they're trying to get passed through the Public Service Commission. But we're excited that we have our education mission. And this webinar is part of our educational mission. And following this event, our next event that I'm excited to tell you about is the Upper Midwest Energy Forum coming up on November 4th in La Crosse, in conjunction with the Sustainable Business Council's annual conference. That forum will be a deep dive into the evolving energy landscape, and it's going to equip business leaders and professionals with the knowledge and strategies to navigate critical challenges in our evolving energy landscape. So attendees who come to La Crosse will leave with actionable solutions and insights to help guide decision-making and operations moving forward. Next slide. A little bit more about CUB. So we were the first citizens utility board in the nation, created in 1979 to kind of level the playing field between customers and shareholders when the decisions about monopoly utilities are being made. And so we're trying to make sure everything's fair for the people paying the bills. We've actually saved almost $4 billion over 20 years, and over $1 billion, $1.5 billion in the last 5 years. And so we, as high as rates are, they would have been that high. As high as rates are in the Midwest, and as we'll hear from our next speaker, they would have been that much higher without our intervention on your behalf. So our focus is fairness, balance, and affordability. Next slide, please. So we serve small businesses as well as residential customers, farmers, even small factories, advocating for safe and reliable service and affordability. Next slide. This just gives you a picture of who represents the average person and business around the country. Mainly these offices around the country represent residential customers, but some of them do represent small business as well, just like we do. And you can see that CUB is fairly unique. Where there's only 3 states in the country that rely on an independent nonprofit to do this work. Most states have a state government agency, sometimes 2 state government agencies, and the green states actually have government and nonprofit advocates working on their behalf. Next slide. So the nitty gritty of what we do is every year utilities come in for rate cases. This year we have 3 utilities seeking about $450 million in increases. And then so we're in there with our economists and our policy experts to try to make sure that every dollar that's approved is actually needed. And then we also get involved in when utilities come in for big power plants or power lines. We're there to see if the project's actually needed. We hire experts to analyze utility planning to see what's needed and what's not. And this is a big focus because the more utilities build, the more they earn. And we have a challenge on our affordability side with how much the utilities earn. A big focus right now is this consumer protection area with these, especially involving data centers. There are two proposed cases right now at the PSC that are about to get going involving tariffs for data centers in eastern Wisconsin. And so we're actively involved to make sure that, the average business or average residential customer isn't left holding the bag or paying unnecessary costs tied to all the energy infrastructure needed for data centers. Next slide, please. So here's a picture of how small businesses are doing in the Midwest, and we are high. We rank actually second highest in the Midwest this is in cents per kilowatt hour from 2024, and it shows that only Michigan is higher. But the challenge is that since 2024, we've had more increases. So I mentioned the $450 million that's being proposed right now. Last year, we had $800 million that was proposed across two utilities. And although the size of that increase was reduced for We Energies and Wisconsin Public Service, for small business customers over the 2-year period, it's another double-digit increase. So from 24 to 26, definitely faster than inflation. Next slide. And so at CUB, we think today actually is National Energy Efficiency Day. So I want to highlight the importance of energy efficiency. So often in our state, the focus is on building more power generation and transmission lines. And we really need to up the ante on saving more and having more balance between supply and demand when it comes to our energy picture. So we're hard at work on issues related to that. And we also work on challenging profits that are too high and more than the utilities need, and putting a spotlight on the affordability challenge facing customers who are struggling to pay their bills. Next slide. So I just wanted to quickly talk, and then we'll turn it over to about a few options for small businesses that come from your utilities. So demand response programs let you save money by participating in programs that cut power use on the hottest days of the year. And so that people there are at home, there are small business smart thermostat programs for this, but then businesses can enroll. So you can go to the next slide. So this shows MG&E has a program. This shows other utilities across the state have different programs for business savings. So we wanted to highlight some of these. Next slide. And this is the one for Alliant Energy. And so depending on your utility, you can go back and check out these slides and see what might work for your business as terms of a utility tailored program. I want to highlight one utility in particular on the next slide, which is Alliant Energy, because they've rolled out smart meters throughout their system. They have a lot of utilities have time of day rates so that you avoid paying peak prices by powering down during those peak times, powering down some of your equipments. And so this is really critical, though. Although all utilities offer these things, Alliant is able to actually switch you to the best rate for you with just a couple clicks if you log into your account. They have this for both residential and business customers, so that because they have all the information already programmed in about whether your business would benefit from switching to a time of day pricing program. Next slide. So I wanted to just let you, that was just a brief overview of Cub and our focus on small business, but I wanted to um, just make sure that you want to stay in touch with what we're doing with our advocacy and with our work for small business by signing up to receive updates from Cub by using this QR code. And with that, I will switch it over to our next speaker. I want to introduce Charles Hua, who is going to be introducing what he does, but also and then moderating the rest of the session. Charles is the executive director of Powerlines, and Powerlines is a national nonprofit that is focusing on making sure that there's greater awareness about the importance of public service commissions around the country, highlighting the energy affordability challenge. Charles has some Wisconsin connections, and so we're happy to have him here with us today. Take it away, Charles.
Well, thanks so much, Tom, and thank you to the Cub Wisconsin team for really bringing us together and for having us here to talk about this really important topic, which is the fact that right now utility bills and electricity prices are skyrocketing, and there's a lot of reasons why that's happening, but we're in a particularly interesting moment for our electric system because we have the confluence of rising demand for electricity to a degree that we haven't seen in a couple decades, as well as rising electric prices that are rapidly outpacing inflation, and among the fastest drivers of inflation among the basket of goods comprising the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. So, if you go to the next slide, just to kind of tee up this conversation. First, as Tom mentioned, I founded and run a nonprofit called Powerlines, focused on tackling this issue of rising electric prices through the lens of public service commissions and making sure that we ensure a stronger voice of consumers in these utility regulatory venues, spanning small business, but also residential, commercial, and industrial voices to make sure that really all of these consumer voices are adequately and robustly represented in our utility regulatory system. So I thought I'd just give a couple minutes of brief remarks talking about framing of the context that we're in and level setting around just what exactly is happening right now as it relates to electric prices. So if you go to the next slide, the reason why we're seeing an unprecedented increase in electric prices most directly is because utilities are proposing a record amount of rate increases. So if you just look in the last couple of years here, the amount of utility rate increase requests have rapidly skyrocketed. And if you go to the next slide, we put out some work, and if you hit next with the transition, next again. What we found is that in the first half of 2025 alone, so just the first 6 months, utilities requested a total of $29 billion in rate increases, which set a record for any year. And again, that's just, which means that it's even more
Charles, your audio is breaking up a little, so
important to have a robust strategy and ensure. Oh,
It's Happy International, or it's Happy Energy Efficiency Day, and it's okay because we have technical difficulties. So thank you for your patience. Um,
is does this work?
it does. Thank you, Charles.
Okay, yes, yeah, that's exactly right. Our that's a case in point for the fact that our grid is experiencing significant set of pressures. So, just to continue the conversation, if you go to the next slide, what we're seeing is that electricity and gas prices are now at this point the fastest driver of inflation. Visualized as well on the next slide, making that point very clear. So this isn't just a broader inflation story. This is actually now the driver of inflation is the fact that electric prices are going up. And of course, for small businesses, especially ones that depend a lot on electricity, that upward pressure on cost is only going to make everything else more expensive. So this is something that we really need to pay more attention to. And attention is being placed. So if you go to the next slide, there are more and more headlines now suggesting that electricity is the new eggs in terms of becoming a defining consumer and political issue in this country. If you go to the next slide, we put out a report earlier this year called Utility Bills Are Rising, which I can drop the link in the chat. But it sort of spells out this very dynamic, next slide, that electric prices are rising faster than inflation and that American consumers, including small businesses, are concerned about what these dynamics foretell for the future of our electric system. And if you go to the next slide, and if you just flip through all the animations, there are a bunch of headlines just in the last 3 to 6 months that show just exactly how intense this issue is around electric prices. So you can keep flipping through. And this is landing in the Financial Times, the Daily Mail, CBS, the New York Times, Bloomberg. It's not just an energy story. It is now an economic, consumer, and finance story. And small business owners are really concerned. Look no further than in Indiana, where there are even restaurants that are holding protests to shut off the lights and allow folks to complain about rising bills and how it's also impacting them as small businesses. And this is now becoming an issue nationally in terms of the impacts of rising prices. So what's behind this? Well, if you go to the next slide, again, we are facing an unprecedented set of rapidly changing dynamics in our electric grid. First off, there's rising electric demand from AI, as pictured here. And in the next slide, we're also seeing growth in electricity demand from manufacturing and electrification. And so that rising demand is important in the Midwest because there's a grid operator called MISO, which basically has a capacity market for that basically makes sure that given supply and demand dynamics, that we have enough resources to meet the demand for energy. And so if demand goes up, then the prices in that capacity auction go up, which flows down to consumers, including small businesses. So that is a live dynamic that's happening right now in the Midwest region, which impacts, of course, Wisconsin small businesses. And from our point of view, if you go to the next slide, it's really critical that folks understand the importance of public utility commissions and public service commissions, like in Wisconsin, because they have the power to determine three things: our energy bills and how much people pay for energy, what types of energy utilities invest in, and where these projects are located. So if you go to the next slide, what all of this means is that there's basically 200 people, 200 public service commissioners across the country that oversee more than $200 billion a year in utility spending. So we call them the U.S. Supreme Court Justices of Energy because that's how much power that they have over how much you as a small business owner has to pay for energy. And so we want to make sure that your voices are adequately represented and reflected in the decision making of these utility regulatory bodies. So if you just go to the next slide, if you're at all interested in engaging in this way, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to support, and Cub Wisconsin is very much so as well. But please reach out so that we can make sure that the voices and power of small business owners continues to become elevated in public service commissions and decision making in Wisconsin and elsewhere. So with that, I will introduce our next speaker, who is Jessie Servi Ortiz. She is the executive director of the Sustainable Business Council. She'll give some remarks, and then she'll be followed by Corinne Hafel from the U.S. Green Building Council. And with that, why don't I turn it over to you, Jessie?
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Charles, for just the great preface on why paying attention to energy is so important right now, especially as a small business. So, I'm here really to just talk about how to get started with your energy management program. So, if you don't know about me or the Sustainable Business Council, on the next slide, you'll see our mission, which is to accelerate the integration of sustainability into business operations and strategy. Another part of this is helping equip sustainability practitioners with the tools and resources they need to be effective change makers and leaders in their organization. So we primarily do this through educating, webinars like this. We also have a tool called the Green Masters Program I'm going to talk a little bit about today, and facilitating connection. And you too can become a member of the Sustainable Business Council. So next slide, please. I'm going to just introduce you to a tool that we have called the Green Masters Program. This is actually a free tool for our business members. And what it does is help businesses to measure and improve their sustainability. So the Green Masters program is for all businesses, no matter the size or the sector, and it's an online tool that starts with a double materiality worksheet that helps your organization define, prioritize, measure, manage, and improve your company's sustainability performance in your material areas. That's a really critical piece to that. So overall, the program really helps organizations define the scope, especially for a small business. If you don't have someone dedicated to working on this stuff, it's really important, an easier tool to kind of get started. It also offers a framework to develop, integrate, and improve your sustainable systems and practices over time. It is a recognition program as well as a third-party self-certification. So as being a part of the program and submitting the program, you get to use the Green Masters program logo in your marketing to validate that you are taking material actions in sustainability. On the next slide, you'll see sort of the breakdown of the participants. A lot of people often think this is a program for big business. It's very much a program for small businesses as well. So you see the makeup here. It's about 60% of the program participants have under 500 employees. And 500 employees is actually the threshold defined by the Small Business Administration. A lot of small business say that's huge, right? What about us? Actually, 26% of program participants have under 100 employees. So on the next slide, you'll see sort of just the basic outline of what the program helps you with. So there are three main components, which are systems development, best practices, and performance improvement. So the tool helps you develop systems for the ongoing tracking, measuring, and monitoring of your program areas. And the idea is that companies establish a systematic management practices for the areas that are material to them, and then implement the best practices. And then in managing those, they drive performance improvement over time. On the next slide, you'll see how the program aligns with other frameworks. This is just important to know that we sort of try to take some of the guesswork out of it for you and intentionally align with these other frameworks. We don't want the Green Masters program to be just another sustainability tool or survey, but rather a tool that empowers you with the resources and insight that you need to drive integrated sustainability program and add value to your business, aligning it to overall business outcomes. So, for example, many companies who might just be getting started might have like ISO certification. If you do, that means you have some level of management system in place. And so that makes it just that much easier to understand how to develop a sustainability management program. On the next slide, you'll see how all of our program, all of the topics and dimensions inside of the program. So it looks holistically at the business. including environmental, societal, workforce, and governance and leadership categories. Today, I'm obviously going to focus on energy. So on the next slide, you'll see some tips for getting started with energy management. We've all heard it said you can't manage what you don't measure, right? And Charles did a great job at setting the stage for how important that is. So the first step is really understanding your operational energy use by facility and by source, right? So that could be as simple as looking at your energy bill. I encourage you to dive deeper because sometimes you have other energy sources than just kilowatt hours or therms, right? And so make sure that you're looking and understanding what all of those energy sources are. The next step is to normalize that data, which refers to the process of bringing data, of bridging a data gap with different units to a common scale for comparison and to help actually, you can go back to the last slide. To help understand efficiency. So it's a way to measure efficiency inside of an organization. And normalization factors for small businesses can vary, but they typically would be things like by the square footage of your space, maybe by a sales volume, sometimes by a product. Evolution marketing, for example, just as an average month over month of the therms and kilowatt hours. And then that is also 50% renewable energy. So she also tracks that. So from there, you want to set a baseline, right? Your baseline is important because it's when you have all of the data and it's good data. This is the point in which you can set goals for the organization. After you plan your goals or make your goals, you want to figure out how you're going to reach those goals. And a lot of times, this can be where the rubber meets the road, right? It can be hard to establish, but I want to make the point that you can leverage local resources. For example, Focus on Energy offers free audits for businesses. We also have an industrial assessment center based in Milwaukee. I was on their website today and I have the link shared. They also offer waste audits now, so I thought that was interesting. But you leverage these local tools for helping you track, measure, and monitor ongoingly. And then that'll help you feel good about setting goals and crafting a plan to reach your goals. I did also just want to mention briefly Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which is also a free tool by the EPA. I believe it's still up and running right now, but it's a really useful tool for small businesses. So now you can go to the next slide, Richard. So if you've done these things and you've started sort of these basic management things, how do you then take it to the next level? So really focus on the strategic integration is an important piece of it. So energy management isn't just for the operations folks, right? It also belongs to capital planning, product development, finance teams. So get others involved and feeling connected to energy. Sometimes it's like this ethereal thing. We turn on the lights and oh, great. But just have conversations with the people around you, your employees, about what that actually means, where the energy is coming from. Engaging in Cub and power lines are other great ways to just learn tools and resources to share with your employees. You can also draft a policy that guides decision making. And in the slides, you'll see this hyperlink. The energy policy words will actually link you to the ISO standard in a draft energy policy that you can adopt or change to be reflective of your business. But that's also a really great action to take to just align your stakeholders with what your goals on energy are. Also, aligning expectations, make sure that your expectations are clear, that they're outlined across the business, and that somebody is accountable for them, right? So again, just talking about energy in a way that makes sense to people. The EPA has a great equivalency calculator that can help with this. Also talking about it in dollars and cents. We all relate to money, right? We all pay a utility bill at home as well as at our business. So talking about the real potential savings with employees can be a way to help them engage them. All right, on the next slide, you'll see just a list of energy best practices. This is how it shows up in the Green Masters program. It really offers sort of a laundry list for you to choose from. Quick wins would include things like LED lighting, Energy Star appliances, looking at your building envelope and doing some improvements there. So get your energy audit, and that will help you know where to focus your time and money on these types of best practices. For larger businesses or more advanced businesses, you can look at building automation systems, server vitalization, or passive solar, and or of course, investing in renewable energy. On the next slide, you'll see just a snapshot of what it looks like as a dashboard once you've completed the program. So this is a snapshot. You'll see here that the overall score of this company is maturing, but their energy management score is 94%, which is really high, or 94 points, I'm sorry, which is really high out of total points available to them. This business is a banking institution with 2 facilities. So lots of people coming in and out, lights on all day long, right? So it just goes to show that they're managing their energy well. All right, so on the next slide is where you will see the tools and resources. Each of these are hyperlinked so you can have them to look at afterwards. I really just want to take a moment to share with you that we have an opportunity for small businesses to become members at a discounted price. It's called the Small Business Membership Discount. It does have limited availability, but if you are a business with 150 employees or less, the subsidy or the discount is 50% on membership for a year. So this is kind of first come, first serve, and I'm going to drop that information in the chat in case anyone is interested. So that's all from me. I am now going to hand it over to my friend and colleague, Corinne Hafel at USGBC.
Thank you, Jessie. And having Jessie go first today was really a fantastic idea. Kudos to those who planned this. Because as small businesses, the work and the goal setting and things that Jessie spoke about overlap really well with what I do. And we're sort of a component that we need you to consider in that. So my name is Corinne Hafel. I'm a director of market transformation and development with U.S. Green Building Council. My role involves bridging the gap between USGBC's tool and resources and the initiatives and all of the dedicated professionals that are working to create a sustainable future through green buildings and communities. So today I'm going to give you a high-level overview of how to reduce your energy use as far as the building through best practices. Next slide, please. So if you're not familiar with the USGBC, our mission is to transform how buildings and communities are designed, built, and operated. We believe that sustainability is about helping businesses, buildings, and communities succeed over the long haul. So when we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about tackling climate change, but also about strengthening our economy and improving quality of life. So for businesses, sustainability really means great benefits. It helps save money, it helps by cutting energy and water costs, reducing risks, and it makes companies more competitive overall. For buildings, it means creating spaces that are healthier and more efficient, places where people want to work and live, and that can ultimately stand up to whatever the future brings, if it's weather, changes in operations internally, use, etc. Next slide. So while our work encompasses very many areas, we're best known for the LEED rating system. LEED is known as the world's foremost program for green buildings and communities. It offers a comprehensive framework for creating healthy, efficient, and cost-effective green buildings across virtually all project types. LEED version 5 is our latest iteration. It continues to be a holistic rating system, and it addresses all environmental impacts while recognizing the connections and trade-offs between them. For today's discussion, I'm not going to dive into all the nuances of this new rating system, But it is crucial to highlight that decarbonization-related credits now account for 50% of all available points within the LEED checklist, with energy use reduction playing a critical role in achieving those credits. So next slide. As I said, I'm not going to dive into all the nuances of this third-party verification system. However, if you've not been dabbling in LEED in the recent future, I definitely recommend that you do go back and look at it. The way that this new system has evolved and deals with transparency and helping communicate and aligning with business goals and the ways that businesses need to communicate ESG and things like that has vastly improved. So these are the QR codes that you'll have at your disposal to really look and learn how LEED v5 is going to help organizations show how you're making real progress with the built environment in your communities. Next. So the top 3 drivers for green building today are really client demands, environmental regulations, and the pursuit of healthier buildings. So with businesses and government entities managing a staggering 93 billion square feet of US real estate, they consume 18% of the nation's energy and spend roughly 190 billion annually. So commercial buildings alone account for 35% of the US electricity use and 16% of the carbon dioxide emissions. So any actions to reduce energy consumption in these buildings presents a powerful opportunity to positively impact the environment, enhance energy security, and save money that can be reinvested into business growth, all while creating skilled jobs. Next. So energy efficient buildings are increasingly appealing to tenants and employees who value sustainability, offering lower operating costs and a healthier, more comfortable environment that boosts satisfaction and retention. So beyond environmental benefits, energy efficiency delivers significant financial savings, with many measures offering quick paybacks due to rising energy costs. So given that the commercial buildings waste an average of 30% of their energy, the potential for improvement is substantial. Enhancing energy efficiency also reduces carbon footprints, supporting community health, and prepares buildings for the future regulatory requirements, positioning them for leaders in sustainability. I do want to emphasize, too, that I know there are changes in the regulatory landscape, local, state, nationwide, but internationally, we also have impacts that are coming down from the supply chain. So we're looking at a global look as well as down to that local level. All right, next. So I'm going to address that elephant in the room that green building is too costly or complex. So achieving sustainability and financial success really starts with thorough analysis and benchmarking. So all of that goal setting and internal work that Jesse talked about not only deals with operations, but buildings and the spaces that house your businesses should enhance and benefit your businesses, not just keep the weather out, not just be the place you all go to log in and connect and collaborate. So we want to make sure that you are doing thorough analysis of your built environment and doing benchmarking. So you want to start at the bottom of this checklist here. You want to do that benchmarking analysis. So you know what you're using and what your operations are. From there, you want to start working on energy conservation. What are the behavioral things? What are the operational things that you can do? This could be things such as understanding when your peak energy use is, and could you switch some of those operations off of certain portions? This could be identifying, mechanical retrofits. This could be having a plan for what you're going to do when certain systems are failing, and that ties then into energy efficiency and making sure those systems that you're imposing and those appliances and those overall HVAC systems and things are increasing the energy efficiency of that minimal energy that you have to use after you did all of this analysis. And then when you do all of that heavy lifting, you've got it down to the minimum amount of energy that you need to use, you're using it as efficiently as possible, then you explore the plethora of renewable energy offsets that you can to help reduce that carbon footprint even further. So next slide, please. Realistically, there are no excuses. These days, there are many opportunities to do benchmarking with numerous tools and exceptional practitioners who can help you dive into every detail. However, there are a few free offerings that you can start using even today. You get off this call and start digging in that will help you identify if your building is underperforming. It'll identify areas for improvement and maximize your cost savings and verify ongoing performance. Next, please. So Jesse already mentioned Energy Star Portfolio Manager. I highly recommend this tool as well. This is the leading benchmark tool for commercial buildings. It is absolutely free. It has a gigantic database that allows you to measure against other buildings of your type. Nearly 25% of the US commercial space is already using it, and it helps you look at your building's energy performance against those national medians and similar buildings. And a score of 50 represents the median of energy use. So the tool also supports setting investment priorities by comparing cost savings across your real estate portfolio and verifying energy savings over time, sharing performance data. So ultimately, you are targeting trying to get 75 or higher to qualify for Energy Star certification and earn an industry recognition on your built environment space. Next. Now, the other platform that I want to bring to your attention is ARC. This was developed by the Green Business Certification or GBCI and the US Green Building Council. This is intended and designed to enhance the way that buildings and portfolios are managed and optimized. So this is a comprehensive tool in the building information ecosystem, and it allows you to manage, measure, analyze, score, and communicate real-world performance data effectively. So it allows you to look at energy emissions, water waste, transportation, and human experience, and it identifies critical insights for improvement. The platform is inclusive and it has a wide range of users. It talks directly to Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So if you're using that, you just input your portfolio ID. It will grab all of the data from Energy Star Portfolio Manager and input it into here. And there is a free user. You can go in there right now. You can log in, set up a user account, and start tracking data immediately. There are some additional, more detailed paywall levels that you can do more complex data analysis and things like that. But notably for any entities that are using the GRESB rating system, ARC facilitates the direct upload of that asset data, aids in certification pursuits, and score enhancements. So this is a pivotal resource for anyone aiming to elevate their environmental and sustainability efforts at a holistic level. Next. So here are a list of practical strategies that you can try to implement. I highly recommend retro commissioning if you have an existing building. You're bringing in a team to come and look at how your system's performing. The thing to remember is that over time, all systems degrade, all buildings degrade. The moment you put that system in, it is nearing its end of life, and things happen. Valves get stuck, fans shut down. There's always efficiencies to find. Additionally, building tune-ups, both of those things are items that focus on energy incentive programs can help. Finding dollars in order to not only find trade allies to do the work, but to define the things that you can do to enhance it. You really need to define preventive maintenance practices, regularly reviewing your HVAC and lighting schedules, adjusting EMS settings for efficiency, that sort of thing. Upgrading your lighting in the building, you can find some significant savings there. And then, of course, just adopting best practices in operations and maintenance. That's going to reduce operating costs significantly and help you maintain comfort. So next. So here we have a list of additional resources. You see some overlap between what Jesse had shared as well as I. I'm emphasizing Focus on Energy's new construction program, but they do have an operational program that looks at the existing building energy use. Of course, we have a plethora of tools and resources and assessment templates and things that you can use from U.S. Green Building Council. And then there's some other financial resources such as PACE Wisconsin, which is property assessed clean energy financing that can help you obtain financing to help with these efforts as well. Next. And that is it from me, and I will turn everything over to Charles.
Well, thank you so much, Jesse and Corinne, for the excellent presentations. We have about 10 minutes for Q&A for the group, and feel free to just jump in with remarks. I think maybe to start, just what avenues do y'all see for small businesses to engage with the Wisconsin Public Service Commission, and how can they most effectively make their voices heard? And maybe we start here with Tom.
Sure, great question. I mean, I think what's really critical is that there's so much going on in this, and there's so much activity in this space, but the Public Service Commission wants public input when it makes its decisions, and so the commissioners review public comments that come in on cases. And here at CUB, what we try to do is plug you into what's going on through our website. We have an active cases page that talks about the rate cases. We have a data centers page that will be talking about the data center issues and the cases that are coming up there. And so it's really critical because to participate in this process. It's energy democracy only works if everybody participates, right? And so we have 3 of those 200 Supreme Court justices of energy here in Wisconsin, and it's important for small businesses to really participate in that process. And if you want to find out more on the policy front about the key issues, CUB is always available to come speak to businesses or clubs or Rotary clubs and things like that to kind of get everybody up to speed. And all those topics will be covered. A lot of emerging topics will also be covered in November at the Energy Forum, and the next day at the Sustainable Business Council Conference on November 5th in La Crosse. Charles?
Thank you, Tom. Maybe going right along to the next question, just how would you get started as a business looking at changes to cut energy costs? What's the first thing that you would do right after this webinar?
Love this question. I'll start and then hand it over to Corinne. But, if you have not had your hands or eyes on an energy bill, that is the place to start, right? Go hunt down the person who pays the bill. They most likely know where it's stored. If that's not you, maybe it's you. Look at that bill in detail, understand all of the different pieces of it, right? Like the rate that you were paying for the kilowatt hours in the therms is just a small portion of that bill. It might be a large portion if you're a huge energy user, but you have to start with knowing what you're consuming, right? I think that's like the key part. A few tips that I've learned along the way, right, is most utilities have business login platforms. So you can go in, you can create your own account. So you can look at historical data. You can look back usually several years, see if you notice any trends. If you have not been in touch with Focus on Energy, call them, find out who they're categorized by commercial and industrial. So depending on what you fall in, or home-based business would be home. They also have residential programs. Find out who that is and get them to your site. They do free energy audits and they are a resource for you. You are paying for Focus on Energy to give you improvements, right? To give you rebates on energy projects. So use that money, use that as a resource and a tool. Yeah, Corinne, anything to add to that?
I think you're spot on. The one thing that I would add is that I just want to acknowledge that I understand that not everybody knows how to read an energy bill. And there are a lot of, you don't need to be ashamed about that. I know people in the building industry that do not know how to read a standard energy bill. So just understand that there are a lot of organizations like Jesse and mine and Tom's and the local utilities who can guide you through that and help you understand what a therm or a kilowatt hour is, or what the difference is between, peak load versus off peak load, that sort of thing. So this is a very welcoming space, and there are all kinds of people that are willing to help you do this, and you don't always have to go hire a practitioner. There is a wealth of breadth of experience and expertise in Wisconsin that could help you analyze this, but this isn't something that you can't do internally.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. And is this something that for small businesses you have to hire someone or contract it out? Is this something that folks can do individually or internally? How do you operationalize all the different things that we're talking about, in particular from a personnel and other standpoint?
I'm going to jump in this time, Jesse. It really depends on where you're going to start. I'll let Jesse elaborate more, but she did a very good job of covering the summary of, as a business, really setting those goals and that will and the metrics that will allow you to create the path of where it is that you want to go. But as part of that process, you should be identifying, those low-hanging fruits and those things that you can do internally. There are fantastic educational programs that could help you train up in existing staff internally. It might not be the person who's physically paying the check to the utility folks, but it might be your facility internal facility operator, or a building facility service that you're hiring to help look at things. There's no reason that you couldn't start doing behavioral changes in that on your own internally, and then as you identify things, evaluate the resources that you have at your disposal so that you can do it internally. It may take you a little bit more time, but it is absolutely doable. Though both Jesse and I have a membership database of experts that can help you through it. Jesse?
Yeah, I'll just add that that's part of Focus on Energy's job, is to connect you to the right people to do the improvement. So they have what are called trade allies and their vetted list of service providers. So you can find your own contractor through that vetted list, or they can help connect you based on the type of project you're looking at, right? So again, I would just start with them, get the energy audit, because the audit then determines the projects, and audit is the first step in the process of getting projects and rebates. We recently hosted a webinar about this, and one of the trade allies recommended, if you know who you want to work with or you have a contractor that you generally use, have them present at the energy audit with Focus on Energy, because then you're all on the same page about who's doing what, where the potential savings are, how to prioritize a project over another project. So do yourself a favor and just bring that whole group together up front.
The other thing I want to really emphasize is that this is not a one and done exercise. This is an ongoing, continuous improvement exercise. I had the pleasure of working with Fiserv Forum on their improvements over time. I know that they are not a small business, but they're an exemplary example of dedication to efficiency and saving dollars on the back end. So they designed Fiserv Forum and constructed it and leveraged our lead rating system and earned a silver level recognition. Then in 2019, I believe it was, they recertified using our operations and maintenance rating system. And at that time, they moved up a level to lead gold, because they were able to, through partnerships with They're building automation systems and things. Were able to increase the efficiency over what the building was designed for. And then just earlier this year, they announced their most recent certification, which is LEED Platinum, in which they were able to increase the efficiency of that building even more. So this can absolutely be done. This last round they did internally, and you too can do this.
Wonderful. And I know we don't have too much time, but just real quick, do you think Portfolio Manager is going to stay viable with the administration talking about eliminating Energy Star before we turn it over to Tom?
Oh, that's the million-dollar question, Charles. There was a significant amount of market feedback to those at the federal level when there was a discussion about shutting it down. This is a nonpartisan free resource that has been embedded in a lot of business operations as a way to track energy and things like that. All indications at this point are that it is going to remain at the moment, but that could change. So one of the things that I would recommend, if you're interested in following that, is that USGBC does a lot of advocacy work, and the Energy Star Portfolio Program, the EPA, the DOE, we've been working very, very closely with a lot of those folks. And we've been putting out white papers and resources and opportunities for you to engage directly with the staff that are tracking that and ask them questions. If, from what I'm hearing, there is a good chance that if it isn't provided through the federal government, that it's likely that it would be privatized and somebody would make that resource, would recreate that resource and make it available. So it's too valuable to go away in its entirety, but it may evolve.
Great. Well, why don't I turn it over back to Tom to close us out?
All right. Thank you so much, Charles. I much appreciated. And I just wanted to highlight there was a lot of talk about focus on energy there. And in the chat, if you look closely, we have a first point of contact for you. Cody's there from Focus with his email address as a first point of contact if you're interested in finding out more about the variety of programs that they have to offer. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for sharing their insights today. And remind you that links to all these presentations that you saw today, along with the recording, will be sent out next week. And I want to thank our partner organizations as well, and you for joining us, and reach out to any of the speakers, as we and they are all happy to answer questions and follow up. And finally, be sure to mark your calendars for the Upper Midwest Energy Forum on November 4th in La Crosse. We're going to dive into the evolving energy landscape with energy professionals from across the Upper Midwest. And we've designed this event to equip, to really go into a deep dive on some of the things we talked about today, but much more, to equip business leaders and professionals with the knowledge. And you can move to the next slide, and strategies to navigate critical challenges in the evolving energy landscape. And one of those challenges, frankly, is the data center wave. We have 2 data center projects in eastern Wisconsin that would actually double the size of the biggest utility in the state, just 2 projects. And so it's a massive shift. And so we're going to dig into that, and we're going to dig into some, you may have seen headlines about nuclear power. We're going to dig into some of these emerging issues and technologies as well. And then we'll have a lot of action items and actionable solutions for folks to take away to help guide decision making and saving on energy costs to help your operations. So I want to thank you again for everybody for being with us today, and be sure to sign up for the Energy Forum and the Sustainable Business Council that happens the next day on November 5th. And then again, thanks for being with us this afternoon, and have a great rest of your day.